and I call this event Solvino Radio. You can call in 716-213-6816. I'm coming to you to talk to you about any topics really, but all of them have to do with truth. The mainstream media is telling you all kinds of lies about all kinds of topics. And they will also not talk about certain agendas, like Agenda 21, for instance, which we will be discussing today. I was also thinking about telling an ancient story, but I don't know if I will do that. The reason why I come to you is because I would consider myself not doing what I should do, knowing what I know, knowing what I found out. There is no way for me to shut up about it. And so I come to you from the Netherlands. You might think, oh, what's this Dutch guy talking to you Americans about? Well, first of all, it's not only in America that this is heard. It's heard all over the place, all over the world. And I believe that we're looking at a global problem here. And, of course, there's the different ways of tackling this problem. You can do it at a local level. But I think there's also a need for a global awakening. I mean, it doesn't have much use if one side of the globe is free and the other side of the globe is still enslaved. That's still not good enough. Everybody must be free. And the way the situation is now is that everybody is a slave. And this also ties into the mythical story I was thinking about telling, but there's a link between the ancient stories, which I read a lot of in my years. It started when I was 19 or 20 or so. And all these stories, they somehow tie to what's happening today also. And so I was wondering if maybe you know you'd like to hear some ancient stories, but it's also interesting for religious people. They need to understand these ancient histories, and these myths and sagas and legends. They're from all over the world. There's the Edda, for instance. There's Icelandic. And it's a story about two brothers having a war. And there's the Veda, which sounds much like the Edda. And the story is also about a war and brothers having a war. And I did a lot of digging in the ancient Indian mythology. And you find stories there that you also find back in the Bible. So I thought it might be interesting to tell some of them. But Agenda 21 is also on the table. And anything that you want discussed, you can go to micro1650am.com if you have a computer available. And there you find the banner, Solvino Radio. If you click on that, you get into the chat room. A lot of hosts use this, chatandgo.com. And you can ask questions there. Doesn't matter what topic. And I'll see what I can come up with. The point is that you, and I mean then you, if you don't call yourself awake, let's put it this way, that you need a total breakdown of the world view that you have at the moment, because it's based on illusions, all of it. And that's why it doesn't matter which topic we discuss, because if you dig deep enough, you will discover that there is a truth that has been hidden from you. Okay. So, but we were discussing the two previous shows, the Agenda 21, and I don't remember exactly where we were, but I thought it was Chapter 8, and keepourrights.org is at Chapter 8.4, monitoring and evaluating the development process systematically, conducting regular reviews of the state of human resources development, economic and social conditions and trends, the state of the environment and natural resources. Yeah, this, let's see if it's also in my version of the Agenda 21, because there have been differences. Maybe there are different versions of the Agenda 21. I got this one from the UN site, so this is under 8.4. I'm just gonna read this. It's under D, establishing systems for integrated environmental and economic accounting. Let's see if I can, yes. A first, 8.4.1, basis for action, a first step towards the integration of sustainability into economic management is the establishment of better measurement of the crucial role of the environment as a source of natural capital and as a sink for byproducts generated during the production of man-made capital and other human activities. So here again, they will try to emphasize that what we humans do somehow has an effect on the world. Well, that's not true. If it has an effect, even the United Nations report says that there's only a 6% contribution from humans to this myth of global warming, which is now called global climate disruption. And they will try and tell you that the humans are responsible for this. This is not true. There's no good arguments to be made for that. The sun plays a bigger role in what's going on with our weather. Continuing, as sustainable development encompasses social, economic and environmental dimensions, it is also important that national accounting procedures are not restricted to measuring the production of goods and services that are conventionally remunerated. Okay, what's that? I don't know. Remunerated. A common framework needs to be developed whereby the contributions made by all sectors and activities of society that are not included in the conventional national accounts are included to the extent consistent with sound theory and practicability in satellite accounts. Sound theory, it's like the weather report. We used to get, when I used to have a TV in the house, at the end of the 8 o'clock journal, you always got this weather report. And they were always giving you percentages of how much percentage of chance of rain, how much percentage of chance of sun. That changed, because it used to be like they would say, oh, well, there's going to be clouds and there's going to be a little bit of sun. You know, they just made their predictions. And most of the time, the predictions of the weather were more correct than the previous journal, the news that you got. But they were also sometimes wrong. They would say like, oh, in 2 days it's going to be sunny, and then we got rain the whole day. So if they can't even predict like 2 days ahead of time, what are they going to talk about sound theory here? It's ridiculous. Continuing, a program to develop national systems of integrated environmental and economic accounting in all countries is proposed. I'm your host Walter, coming to you from the Netherlands. And I'm coming to you to talk about all kinds of things. And one of them is Agenda 21. But you can call in and ask me any questions about any topic. The number 716-213-6816. You can also go to micro1650am.com and click on the banner Solvino Radio for the chat. We were almost at the end of keepourrights.org, the Agenda 21 page, the things that they lifted out. They were talking about Agenda point 84 and other things, because it's 841, 842. And we were at objectives 8.42. The main objective is to expand existing systems of national economic accounts in order to integrate environment and social dimensions in the accounting framework, including at least satellite systems of accounts for natural resources in all member states. The resulting systems of integrated environmental and economic accounting, that's IEEA, to be established in all member states at the earliest date, should be seen as a complement to, rather than a substitute for, traditional national accounting practices for the foreseeable future. What's this? They want to have their own bank in every country. IEEAs would be designed to play an integral part in the national development decision-making progress. Oh, also that. They want to meddle with our country's decision-making process as well, huh? National accounting agencies should work in close collaboration with national environmental statistics as well as the geographic and natural resource departments. Well, this doesn't make any sense because, as we know from the proposals made for this CO2 scam that they have running at the last proposal that I had under my nose was from the COP15 in Copenhagen. We know from that the developing countries such as China and India, I don't know why they call this developing countries, by the way. I mean, that used to be, but they are now on the rise very much. But anyway, the point is that they can pollute all that they like. While we, the so-called developed countries, are supposed to cut down by up to 80%. So that doesn't make any sense. If you want to do something about the environment, it doesn't make sense to make more pollution in China and India and less in other places. It's just not logical. Continuing, the definition of economically active would be expanded to include people performing productive but unpaid tasks in all countries. Excuse me? So now you're economically active if you do work that you don't get paid for? What are they trying to do here? Shifting the ideas and definitions of words. This would enable, continuing, this would enable their contribution to be adequately measured and taken into account in decision making. That's ridiculous. It goes on with activities. A, strengthening international cooperation, 8.43. The statistical officer of the United Nations Secretary should A, make available to all member states the methodologies contained in the SNA handbook, well, I don't know what that is, on integrated environmental and economic accounting. Wow, what is that, SNA handbook? B, in collaboration with other relevant United Nations organizations, further develop, test, refine, and then standardize the provisional concepts and methods such as those proposed by the SNA handbook. keeping member states informed of the status of the work throughout this process. C, coordinate in close cooperation with other international organizations the training of national accountants, environmental statisticians, my God, what a word, and national technical staff in small groups for the establishment, adaptation and development of national IEEAs. 8.44. The Department of Economic and Social Development of the United Nations Secretariat, in close collaboration with other relevant United Nations organizations, should, the tone at which they bring this, right? They're just telling you, oh, well, we at the United Nations, we know what's best for you. And therefore, we should, A, support in all member states the utilization of sustainable development indicators in national economic and social planning and decision-making practices, with a view to ensuring that IEEAs are usefully integrated in economic development planning at the national level. Well, you should just mind your own business and stay out of people's countries. B, promote improved environmental and economic and social data collection. Oh, they want to know everything, don't they? Data collecting. Social, economic and social data collecting. Yeah. That's not because that's of course the exoteric story, and they want you to think here that they need this data so that they can make the right decisions. No, that's not what it's about. They need this data so they then can use that data to influence you, to make you think certain things that, for instance, there's too much CO2 in the air, or there's not enough trees growing, or things like that. 8.46. At the international level, the Statistical Commission should assemble a review, experience and advise member states on technical and methodological issues related to the further development and implementation of IEEAs in member states. Further development. More implementation. Get the hell out of these countries. 8.47. Governments should seek to identify and consider measures to correct price distortions arising from environmental programs affecting land, water, energy, and other resources. What? It's 10th of April 2011, and I am your host Walter, coming to you from the Netherlands. The point I'm coming to you is because there is this thing called truth, and it's been hidden from everybody for so long that we forgot what it is all about. And truth and freedom are things that are connected, because freedom is also important when it comes to an understanding of what the reality is that the world is in today, and what kind of situation the people are today. And if you're uninformed, you might think that you're free. There's a lot of people here in the Netherlands, for instance, and other surrounding countries that think they are free. But in fact, because they've been so disinformed by school and by peers and by parents, that they have no concept of what it is to be free. So there's a lot of things that need to be understood correctly before you can have a concept of what freedom is, and what truth is, what reality is. And because our parents were also disinformed and living a fairy tale life, we have also adapted to that. And we think that the goal in life is to get rich or to be famous or to be very strong or to be very admirable, things like that. And we've lost our humanity in all of this. The way we live today in these huge cities, millions and millions of them, people living in huge cities, that's not normal. That's not what a human life is supposed to be like. So that's the reason why I come to you. There's a better way of living than we do at the moment. And so we could all make this happen just by doing it, just by changing the way we behave. And I'm not saying that we should all behave like the Agenda 21 is telling us to do. They will have us driven into the cities and get us off the land because Monsanto wants it. But we should try and get more of a relationship with the environment around us. And then I just mean the nature around you. The trees and the birds. And then if you have a garden, you could grow your own food there. It's very good for you to grow your own food. Not only because the food that you normally get in the store is poisoned, but also because if you put your energy in this piece of land or garden that you have, it's satisfying when you get the result of it. It does you good. That's human behavior, to grow some food in your garden. Enjoy the sun, things like that. Go out, get away from the computer. And this, in a sense, the computer is an extension of what the TV used to be, I guess. Many people maybe have thrown out their TV, I hope they have. But then there's the computer, and they call it the web. And people get caught in the web or the net. You can get caught in the net also. And therefore, we are conditioned to use keyboard and mouse and screen, and they are like an extension of human life, it seems, today. And so this further breaks down our human nature. This is also why I'd like to tell some stories about the mythologies, because there's also a good description given of the fight that goes on age after age after age between good and evil, not only on a political stage, but also in a human life. There is a fight of good and evil within you. So there's good descriptions in the mythological stories of how human nature works. And there's a hidden message for those that understand these mythological stories and how they are used to control millions and millions of people. Okay, but for now I'm going to continue with Agenda 21. We were at 8.47, where I said that they're actually implying that their own programs would create price distortions. So I believe that if a country wants to export things, that's a good thing. But if another country wants to say, well, okay, we might want to buy your stuff, but we also make this here, so we're going to have some tariffs on it because we make the stuff here also. And then the exporting country can say, well, okay, we're going to pay, or you don't pay, and so you don't export. It's called protection of your own economic system. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The way this economic system works, unfortunately, is not really about how much energy the people put in or how much ingenuity the people have, but more how much money someone has will decide whether an economic region will flourish or not. The people with money move from time to time, from place to place, and what you see at the moment is that they are moving to India and China, for instance. So there's a macroeconomic system at work here, but nevertheless, I say that nations should be able to decide for themselves how things are run economically. Continuing, we're almost done with the 8.4, and there is a D here, as mentioned by the site, but it doesn't mention exactly what is said at the site. The site says, monitoring and evaluating that begins, but I don't see that anywhere. Continuing anyway, 8.48, governments should encourage corporations. Talking about governments and corporations, that's the start of 8.48, governments should encourage corporations. If you've seen the documentary Corporation Nation, you've probably checked, as I have in my own city, what's going on here. And yes, I've found that my city owns a lot of things. And I have still to ask further questions about what's going on here, because why would my city own things? Okay, that doesn't make sense to me. The people should own things, not the city. So you know then that there is a link between governments and corporations. Well, yeah, that's what you have in a fascistic society. So they're trying to make you think here that governments have a say on what's going on in the corporations. And maybe, in a sense, that is true, because the governments have a stake in their development. I'm your host, Walter. This is Micro 1650 AM, Orion Talk Radio Network. This event is called Solving Your Radio, and I'm here to talk logic also to you. There's this thing called trivium. It's a introduction into quadrivium. And quadrivium also has arts, for instance, and mathematics, which leads to sacred geometry. But those things will be discussed at a later show. I'm still working on this page that I've got from a good chatter. And there's a lot of words in there that I really don't know, so I should get a good dictionary and figure out what's going on here. But there's a lot of logical fallacy going on that should be dispelled. And we are going to be able to teach you how you do that, because logical things are described over there. Okay, I see. Let's see. Get there. How do I get there? I see. Okay. Welcome to the show. What's your name or where are you calling from? They hung up. Okay. Well, let's see. How do we continue here? Okay.
Hi. How are you?
Oh, you're there. Welcome.
Yeah.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Jason calling. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Jason. Thanks for calling in. How are you doing?
Oh, not bad. I'm calling it a little bit off topic because you've kind of moved on a little bit, but I just want to call and talk about, you're talking about gardens and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because as you take the time in your life to grow your own food and to nourish your own body, it then pays you back in many different ways.
Yeah.
And earlier this week, I called a different radio show,
Yeah.
and I was talking about the relief of the poor and how it is that people should care for the poor. And that it is the family, the media family, that should. It talked about how the media family should be caring for the poor. That it should be up to the children, the parents, the brothers and sisters, or the grandchildren and grandparents, or any other kind of relatives, to pick up the tab and to help out. But what's interesting is that we no longer have that fundamental structure anymore. It's not the family, that takes care of each other, but now it's the state that does this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also a part of the total dehumanization that we've gone through since last couple of thousand years. The family structure has been broken down effectively, and the results are, I don't think that people are poor as a result, but the fact that we have no empathy for them anymore is indeed a result of the further breakdown of morals and family values that have led to this situation. Yeah.
Yep. And now we have this fake entity or this fiction called the state or your local government, that now cares for these people. But what's interesting is I have gone out and talked to people who actually live in these institutions that are funded and run by the state.
Yeah.
And the first thing that they always tell me is that they would rather be at home with either living with their children or some other relative. But because of how the structure was set up and how the funding is done, the state will not give them any kind of, aid to do this.
No.
It's kind of like a catch-22 or some kind of like a loop that they created.
Yeah, the energy that we use, that we have, and we give for in return for money, and then the taxes are being deducted from that, and it is used to enchain the people even more. Although it may seem like something good is being done with it, it is only used to control people even more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, that's what it's always about. The Egyptian kings also, for instance, they were taught how to control masses and masses of people. The knowledge that is available of what humans are and how humans react is so vast that it's very easy for the people to control us, for the people that have the power to control us.
Oh.
It's always been like that. Like, for instance, the problem reaction solution idea, or better said, solution problem reaction, not only is used on a moment basis, like for instance the day of 9/11, 2001, but also used in very long periods, like 25 or 50 years. And these people plan these things, and they've planned the coming decades also. There's nothing in politics, for instance, that happens that is a coincidence. Nothing that happens is a coincidence. Everything that happens is planned in such a way. And because they know so well how people will react in, for instance, Egypt and Syria and places like that, they know so well how to influence people and how to push their buttons so that they go on the street and start demonstrating, that they have a complete control over us. And we must break all these baseless ideas that exists. Like you pointed out, for instance, that the state is an idea, that just like money is an idea that we've attached to in such a way that the money is now controlling us instead of the people controlling the money.
Yeah. What I find really interesting about a lot of this is as I get into gardening and farming, and I realize that a lot of people don't even think or plan ahead, whereas like I'm thinking and planning ahead, because you always have to be thinking about rotating out your crops, because you don't want to grow the same thing twice in the same area.
Yeah.
But people don't have to do this or ever think about this. They just think about how to get down to the local grocery store just to get whatever it is they need to get, and then that's about as far as their thought goes. They don't think more than 15 minutes into the future.
No. And I was in America for 3 times, and I lived in Canada for 2 years about, and I noticed that the people there have large gardens. Compared to here in the Netherlands, we have more smaller gardens. Everything is smaller here, by the way. Everything is just at least twice as big in the United States, including the streets and the pavements that you walk on, but also the gardens. And I would wager that one garden should be enough, even if you fail at some of them and if you do not so good. But it should be enough to feed you for at least half a year.
Yeah, that's true.
Typical garden that I remember seeing, and then I'm just talking about the backyard garden. I mean, and most houses have front yard gardens as well, as I remember them anyway. Yeah, and it's not so hard. You can also just start it, and as I did, and I only started because of my process of waking up and finding out that the food is poisoned. I found it necessary to grow my own food, although I'd never done it before. I just started it and asked people around me that knew more about it how to do it. And it's fun, and you can also make your own seeds so that the next time you don't have to buy the seeds. It's not easy to make your own seeds. I've failed so far, but it should be possible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you have your own garden too, or what?
Oh, yes. We have about a 1/4 acre garden here.
Oh, that's big. Yeah. This is Orion Talk Radio. I'm your host, Tolvinor. You can call in 716-213-6816. I'll keep an eye on that screen so I can see if people are calling or not. And today is the 10th of April, 2011. We were talking about growing your own food, and I would suggest that you do. But before I forget, I've had a email from a listener, and there was a happening here in the Netherlands, and I heard about it on the radio when I was driving my car, so I knew it had happened. And I was thinking, uh-oh, when I heard it on the radio, there was a shooting here in the Netherlands, and a couple of people have died. This is from Spitz News. See if I can translate this live. Identity shooter known. The man that had in Alphen aan de Rijn made a bloodbath would be the 24-year-old Tristan van der Vlis. Okay, now Tristan is a very special word. I know that because of my gaming. Strange link, but Tristram, here we go, is Latin Brythonic, Drustanus, Welsh Tristram, also known as Tristram, etc. This is one of the main characters of the Tristan and Isolde story, a comic hero and one of the knights of the Round Table, featuring in the Matter of Britain. He is the son of Bachelor and Rivelin, in later versions Isabel and Meliodas, and the nephew of King Mark of Cornwall, sent to fetch Isolde back from Ireland to wed the king. However, he and Isolde accidentally consume a love potion while en route and fall helplessly in love. The pair undergo numerous trials and that test their secret affair. So there's a nice legend also, Trigent legend cycle. It says that Van der Vlis was still living at his parents in Alphen aan de Rijn. At a shooting this afternoon in a shopping mall, the Ridderhof. Now the Ridderhof, that means something like a place where knights come. A ridder is knight. That's strange, huh? So the Ridderhof. There were 4 people deadly wounded, and other 4 more were just wounded. And it says here that there's now 7 dead. That's the update. And the police are still doing an investigation in the apartment van der Vlis. And the officers have taken a computer, and according to the neighborhood, this man has always been a nice guy, and he was especially fond of his car, who he was always scrubbing. Okay, he was always busy with his car, making it nice, and that it was just a normal guy. So what's going on here? The fact also is that that's the news that I'm getting, that he shot himself afterwards. Okay, now I've seen too many things like this happen in the United States, and they turn out to be false flag operations. Okay? Some of them hint at the use of mind control. And there's different ways of looking at what is mind control. In fact, the whole population is mind controlled. That's a way of looking at it. But there's also a more personal way of mind control. That you really are controlling the mind of one person. That's also mind control. And these events are made to happen to scare the people and make them accept more regulations that will take their so-called freedoms away. So, thank you for letting me know, dear email writer. And we should be wary of these events and check out what's going on here. Now, first, the first 2, but these are just hints from me because of the history that I know, of course. But the first 2 are his name, Tristram, and the name of the shopping mall, so the place where knights go. I would just translate it like that. Okay, so that's suspicious to me, but there should be more investigation before declaring this a real false flag operation. But I suspect that. Also because of the neighborhood says that he was just a normal guy. He was a nice guy. So I find that strange that somebody who has always acted normal, apparently he doesn't have a record at the police, or they would have stated such, all of a sudden going crazy. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, we were doing the Agenda 21 thing, and we were at 8.48. So I'll just continue there while keeping an eye on the caller screen. You can call in number 716-213-6816. If I don't pick up right away, just keep hanging for a bit. I'll find you sometime. 8.48. We were talking about governments and corporations and the links between them. A, to provide relevant environmental information through transparent reporting to shareholders, creditors, employees, governmental authorities, consumers, and the public. Okay, now, first of all, the term here, governmental authorities, is a kind of newspeak, I guess, because government is not supposed to be an authority. The authority is supposed to be the people, and the government is supposed to be serving the people. So it's the other way around. Then it says to provide relevant environmental information. I mean, if you would like to let it go to the people that, for instance, also headed the IPCC, who will not even use our own measuring sticks to measure how much water rise we have had, then you're going to get nothing but lies. And they will use those lies to try and convince you that there's something wrong. And we need to act now. You need to give us. 8.48b. To develop and implement methods and rules for accounting for sustaining development. We're almost done with the 8.4. But here there's a D, but it says something else anyway. Strengthening data and information collection. 8.49. National governments could consider implementing the necessary enhancements in data collection to set in place national IEEAs with a view to contributing pragmatically to sound economic management. Major efforts should be made to augment the capacity to collect and analyze environmental data and information and to integrate it with economic data. You can reach me at solvinur1@yahoo.com. That's SOLVINUR, the numeral 1, @yahoo.com. If you have any questions, doesn't matter what topic. And you can also go to micro1650am.com, click on the banner Solvinur Radio, and you can enter the chat there and also ask questions or paste comments. Or you can call in 716-213-6816. I'm going to continue here with the last paragraph of 8.4. We were at major efforts should be made to augment the capacity to collect and analyze environmental data and information and to integrate it with economic data, including gender disaggregated data. Here they want to tie your economic progress with environmental data. This is unacceptable, of course. We should not let other people decide how we run our economics based on some fake environmental data. Efforts should also be made to develop physical environmental accounts. International donor agencies should consider financing the development of intersectoral data banks to help ensure that national planning for sustainable development is based on precise, reliable and effective information and is suited to national conditions. What are they saying here? Let me read that again. Efforts should also be made to develop physical environmental accounts. After that, the international donor agencies, these are your so-called, what do you call them? Philanthropists, should consider financing the development of intersectoral data banks to help ensure that national planning for sustainable development is based on precise, reliable and effective information and is suited to national conditions. They should read that they want these agencies to make sure that they develop in a sustainable way, what they call sustainable way. And not that it's suited to our national conditions. No. That has nothing to do with it. They want you to run your country in what they deem sustainable. And again, I would like to emphasize this. There is nothing to sustain. We don't need anything from these so-called organizations to help develop our country. Things happen by itself because of the energy of the people living in the country. No other reason. That's the reason why a country can climb up the ladder of so-called the false economic system that we live in. It's because of the energy of the people and what they do with their energy. This is the last of 8.4. Well, let's see where the site is continuing. They're taking chapter 8, 8.13. 8.13. There's no 8.13 here. They're moving back to 8.13. Why do they do that? 8.21, 8.20, 8.13. This is, let's see if I got the right one here. Chapter 8, 8.13 should say, laws and regulations suited to country-specific conditions are among the most important instruments for transforming environment and development policies into action. For transforming environment and development policies into action. Not only through command and control methods, excuse me? Command and control methods, what's that? But also as a normative framework for economic planning and market instruments. Let's see what it says, 8.8.13. Now we take the agenda 21 here. It says 8.13 should be providing an effective legal and regulatory framework. 8.13, laws and regulations suited to the country-specific conditions are among the most important instruments for transforming environment and development policies into action. This is how they mean to say how their fake environmental data should be transformed into action. Not only through command and control methods, and they have that here between two of those brackets, what do you call them? Command and control methods. Now what the heck is that? But also as a normative framework for economic planning and market instruments. Yet, although the volume of legal text in this field is steadily increasing, much of the lawmaking in many countries seems to be ad hoc and piecemeal. What's that kind of a word? No, never heard of that. P-I-E-C-E-M-E-A-L. Piecemeal? strange, or has not been endowed with the necessary institutional machinery and authority for enforcement and timely adjustment. The legal text here they were talking about. Although the volume of legal texts in this field is steadily increasing. Yeah, all these legal texts, what are they doing? They are having a all-out war on natural law. And this is very important. There's a couple of terms that I know that can be used as an umbrella to explain all kinds of things. One of them is culture creation. The second one is the all-out war between legal positivism and natural law. I've just been introduced into that a couple of months ago, and I'm starting to get the idea of what's going on here. This war against natural law, anything that's human, basically. Bah. That was 813. The last one they got here on Keep Our Rights is from chapter 9. There's 40 chapters, so there's much more. But chapter 9.9.13 should say something like, since the transport sector is also a source of atmospheric emissions, there is a need for a review of existing transport systems and for a more effective design and management of traffic and transport systems. I was talking about transportation in Agenda 21. They were mentioning it, transport sector. Now, first of all, it's ridiculous that we are still using the same idea when it comes to combustion engines. For about 100 years now. And they're talking about technical advancement. Excuse me? That doesn't make any sense, people. But I was going to tell you about what I saw 2 days ago. And this was pretty strange. This is the second time that I saw something strange in the air, and I'm thinking, what's that? How can it move like that? The first time was about 8 or 9 months ago, a year ago, something like that. And it was at night, and it was a blue, bright orange, yellow light that was moving. And we thought, well, what's that? It was so bright that there were some clouds around between the stars. And that it was so bright that it lit up the clouds. You could see the orange reflection in the clouds. So that was pretty bright. And I was not the only one that saw it. And the explanation given was that it was a lampion, they call it. And it is supposed to be a fire in the sky. Now, it might have been that, but I'm not really satisfied with that explanation. But 2 days ago, and this happened in the daylight, I was busy in my garden planting some seeds, and I look up in the sky, as I usually do, checking for things that are not supposed to be there, and I saw a pretty big, if I would extend my arm and would place my fingers around it, it would be 2-3 centimeters, about 1 inch, is that? That big in the sky, a white, bright light. And it seemed as if it was reflecting the sun, because the sun was to the right of me, and the object was straight up to the left of me, and it was as if the sunlight was reflecting a metal round object in the sky. Not round in the sense as you would imagine a planet or a moon. in that sense, completely round, like, from, if you've seen the Next Generation and the Borg, they not only have cube ships, but they also have round ships. And that's what it seemed like. And it was moving at a high speed, I would say. I would say it was about 3 to 5 kilometers high. That's about 4 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles, something around 3 miles, something like that. 4 or 5 kilometers, I estimated it to be. There was no sound, and I could estimate the height because this observation took about 14, 15 seconds. And it was moving pretty fast. But because this is lowlands, you can see pretty far. And I could see it moving in one direction at the same speed. And I'm thinking, well, this is strange. I don't see a contrail or a chemtrail or what's going on here. I just see this 1-inch big ball in the sky reflecting silver white sunlight. That's what I took it to be. Maybe it wasn't that, but it was very bright. And so it moved away from me towards the horizon at this certain speed and certain direction. And then all of a sudden it stopped. Now it's pretty far away from me. I would say it's about 5 kilometers further away than when it was just straight above me. And then something happened. I don't know what it did, but to me it seemed like it was going downwards. But it could also have been that it accelerated very much and was just changing direction and going forward. Because what I saw was a change of direction and a moving towards the horizon as if it was falling down. But it didn't seem to be falling down. It just seemed to be going further and further away. Also because the white brightness that it still had was getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Like it was 1 inch in diameter when I could see it when it was straight above me. But now, 15 seconds later, it was only about 1/4 of an inch or 1/6 of an inch, but still very bright. And now it's disappearing between the trees, and I have to move myself to still keep an eye on it. And so it changed direction, and it seemed to go down, and then it just went still further away, and it went out of my sight. I couldn't see it anymore. So that was strange. I thought, well, what's that? And I still don't have no explanation of what that was. And the first one I told you about, which was about a year ago, I was with another guy driving in the car, and the next day we started searching the internet if anybody else had seen it. And yeah, indeed, there were reports of people seeing strange orange lights in the sky that night. But I went to search for this white light in the sky that happened 2 days ago, but I couldn't find anybody else that might have seen this. But the one with the orange lights, and a friend of mine called the police, if I remember correctly, or somebody called the police to tell about it, and the police said that they had many calls coming in from this object in the sky. Okay. Yes, Anon is posting in the chat that I talked about this before, but I don't mind mentioning it again. It says Irish Times, 6 people shot dead in Holland. It's supposed to be even 7 now. I don't trust this happening. The neighbors said that this was a normal guy and that he was very fond of his car. He was cleaning his car all the time. And that's not strange behavior here in the Netherlands. People like their cars. What's wrong with that? It's normal, conditioned behavior, I would say. You know? So, and then all of a sudden you start shooting people and himself? Okay? That doesn't sound correct to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. So that was my little story. Because of this last point of the Agenda 21, the transport sector is also a source of atmospheric emissions. Again, those emissions, they have been cleaned. Okay, that I'm now talking pre-1998, because after 1998, we see these strange X's in the sky, which are called persistent contrails or chemtrails or whatever you want to call them. But before 1998, there were no more dirty emissions from airplanes. I remember the discussions when I was a child. They said, well, these dirty airplanes. And they did something about it. They made better engines, and now they are cleaner, and you don't see black smoke coming out of them anymore like they used to. Okay? So a normal condensation trail, there's no problem with that. This is Orion Talk Radio. I'm your host, Solvinor. That's SOLVINUR. You can reach me at solvinor1, the numeral 1, at yahoo.com. Ask me any questions. If you want certain topics discussed, you can also send me an email and say, well, I would like to know more about religion, for instance, or whatever you want. You can also go to micro1650am.com. There you will find the banners. If you click on Solvino Radio, then you come into the chat room and you can ask questions or post comments there as well. Then there's another way you can come in contact. You can call, and I'll keep an eye on the call screen. The number is 716-213-6816. The last part here was about transport, and they were talking about atmospheric emissions, and I said that, well, these planes, for instance, they do emit carbon dioxide, but we need that. There's only a very, 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 very small percentage of carbon dioxide in the air. And if it were not there, life would not be possible here on Earth. So there's nothing wrong with creating a little bit of carbon dioxide. Plants need it to grow. I would like to also state that it is a mistake to think that plants and trees create oxygen. That's a mistake. What happens is, during the day, yes, indeed, there is oxygen coming from these plants and trees. However, during the night, this process turns around, and the plant actually uses oxygen. This is the reason why the flowers are removed from hospital rooms after the people that came to visit have left and the night is falling. It's because they use the oxygen that the patient needs. So, therefore, if you know that, you go and search for other explanations as to why is there an 18 to 20% oxygen level here, and the sea is the answer. Over the last millions and millions of years, the sea has been producing oxygen, and that's the reason why we can breathe oxygen. Okay, still about atmospheric emissions. There is a need for a review of existing transport systems and for more effective design and management of traffic and transport systems. Well, yeah, you can say that there is a need for that, but as long as the oil is going to be the only substance used for much of our transport, then there's not going to change much. And also, you will find that there's a lot of information being suppressed, which would help the management of traffic and transport systems, as they call it. And another thing is that they should not mess or meddle with the management of traffic and transport systems. If a country is so stupid that it will not give its people a good infrastructure, then there will be less economic welfare. That's only logical. You can't drive trucks over sand roads, okay? So you must have a good infrastructure, and your country should provide for that by itself. Don't need other countries to tell us what to do. You get strange things like that happening with these railroads that have been planted in our land here in the Netherlands, and they were supposed to go to the Ruhr area, which is the industrial area of Germany, but because they don't seem to be able to agree on certain things, we have already made these huge railroad lines, but Germany, at the other side of the border, they haven't even started thinking about making a contact with us. So that's what you get if you start meddling from up above with what transport should be. Then countries, they may decide, well, I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. Okay? So that's pretty stupid. I mean, if a country like Holland would like to upgrade its infrastructure, what you do is you look at your neighboring countries and look at the state of their infrastructure. And what seems good to you, expand on that. That's our position in the Netherlands. We got sea on one side and Germany on the other side. That's perfect. That's perfect. You got things coming in from the sea, and all you got to do is ship it to Germany. So what you do is you make sure you have a good infrastructure going there. And don't let the Germans decide politically whether they're going to build a railroad or not. Don't let your actions depend on political talk. That's nonsense. Okay, so much for the transportation comment, I guess. The whole thing, Chapter 9, 913, it's only, it's under 2, basis for action. The whole thing, 913, says, the transport sector has an essential and positive role to play in economic and social development. And transportation needs will undoubtedly increase. However, since the transport sector is also a source of atmospheric emissions, there is a need for a review of existing transport systems and for more effective design and management of traffic and transport systems. Yeah, there's all kinds of ideas floating around with regards to different transport systems, like magnetic railroad, for instance, a monorail. They were doing tests with them in Germany and in Japan to see how that works, because it's non-polluting. They want things to be non-polluting. And so they come up with a good idea using magnets as a means to get from one place to another. And that's a good idea. But it's not getting implemented. Why not? Because there is a hold of the oil companies. They will keep that hold on the transportation market for as long as they can. So we will have to somehow break that hold or get the suppressed technology that is available for new transportation into action to be able to get away from this. I've seen in the past many other engines as well, and some of them they claim to be running on 0 point energy, as they call it. And there is a reason for checking this out, this 0-point energy idea. There seems to be an energy available in the vacuum. The first hint of this was, I can't remember his name now, but there was this scientist, and he put two metal plates very, very, very close together, and he was trying to find if there was some pressure being made. And he found out that if you put them close enough together, and of course you need laboratorium equipment to do this, to put two metal plates very close together but not touching. And he found out that there is a pressure from the outside trying to push these metals against each other. And because it's all on a very small scale, they call it the vacuum effect. I guess you could call it. It's an effect of the vacuum, and there's apparently unlimitless energy available in this vacuum, and there should be investigations done into this area at least. Also, there's ancient texts that have been translated. Now I can't vouch for these translations, but apparently they had airplanes, they call vimanas, and other transportation devices that ran on quicksilver.